Great Guitars. I'm John Hall. My friend Glenn LaSalle there behind the camera. This is going to be one in a series of actually building a guitar. We are going to set up this DVD so that you can actually follow the process of building a guitar and what the process is. Now, the fact that this has already been bent, you will find all the bending videos and bending information out on YouTube already, so it doesn't really matter the style of guitar so much as what the process is going to be. This is a rough bent side. It is particularly a Martin 14 fret Dreadnought. I am going to trim this now for the mold. Once I trim this to the mold, we will true this up. Now, the true up video is already out there. It is bending video number 3, and that's going to show you the geometry that we put into a guitar side so that you have a matching neck angle for your top, so that at the end the setup is going to fall out where it needs to be. But for right now, let me show you how to determine how to trim a side. You need a pencil, you need the guitar sides naturally, and you need the mold. Now, this tail block, you're going to notice, has something different in it. In one of our quick tip videos, we showed you how to put a piece of plywood into here. And I'm a big fan of traditional buildings, so I like to have solid mahogany showing. But that's in there so that when we drill for the strap pin, should you drop the guitar on the pin, this should save you from splitting your guitar from neck to tail. So right now, I'm going to mark this side to trim. Now, my side has already been predetermined. There is a round side, or should I say a rounded side, what actually has the predetermined shape of the back. So you can see that rocks. This side is flat. So that is the side that I'm going to put into the mold. I will hold it firmly here at the waist. I can come up here, mark my neck block, mark my tail block. I'm going to take the other side, likewise the same thing, put it in right at the waist, can mark the center for the neck, and now the tail. I'm going to trim this on the bandsaw, and I'm going to trim it face side down. Now, I used the bandsaw, and if you took notice, I cut one on one side, one on the other. Number one, I'm working from the flat side anyway, but even if the blade's off a little bit, that little bit of off on one side is going to be on the other, so it's going to mate up anyway. I'm not really too terribly worried about that at the moment. I'm going to take two parallels, one on each end of the mold, drop my pin in, likewise over here. And now this will be the final trim. I want to make sure that my side set fits this mold perfectly. Now, the bending machine, although it's a great piece of equipment, I don't free build. So as long as that bending machine gets me reasonably close to the shape that I need, that's all that I care about. I'll put the side set in the mold. And it doesn't matter which side you lock up first. Now, once I have this in the mold, I actually want to see the side set kind of come away from the mold. It's going to be trimmed just a touch long. So when I put my spreader in, that will force everything against the mold, and it will hold things very tightly for me. Now, this is the back of the guitar. I'm going to put a little piece of chalk on here. Now, I personally build everything with a 15-foot radius on the back. Technically, I think Martin uses a 20. I use a 15. That's what I'm going to be showing you, but it really doesn't matter. Put this disc on here. The mold is basically central to this hub. And I just want to get the worst of this off. Okay, what this is doing is I'm basically getting everything preset so that I can do the kerfing. And by getting this set up, this will set up a lot quicker than if I was doing the kerfing in the side. So I can get my side set pretty much where I need it to be, get my kerfing just a touch proud. That way I can knock the kerfing in, and I don't have to spend quite so much time truing the kerfing. Alright, now I need 2 pieces of tape. And why I have this, put the tape on here, will be very clear in a few minutes when we actually go to set the neck and tail box. Now, while I have this on, I'm now going to flip the mold, and in video number 3, I had referred to setting up the geometry of the side. And what this means is I'm actually going to install, well, infer 3 distinct areas in my top. So I take my mold and I flip it. I take that little parallel that I had, and my parallel is now moved forward and sits right underneath the side set itself to support it. Now, all that these pins do are pretty much help to keep this thing from rolling around. I'm going to put chalk on here again. And again, this is just to get things roughed in so that the other parts of building are a little bit easier. This is a 28-foot radius, and I use a 28-foot because when you figure the position of the saddle to the neck, 28-foot radius in that little section of cord is going to equate to the 1.5 degree angle. Kind of reverse engineering, looking back, I want at my bridge the string height to be 1/2 of an inch. The 1.5 degree neck angle will allow me to get that. This will allow me to get it very accurately and very repeatably. So I'm now going to install this 28-foot radius. And what I'm doing, I'm not going to put the radius all over this guitar. Basically from the sound hole front and from the bridge back. This area here, which is already flat, I want to remain flat. By doing this, we actually create 3 distinct areas in the top. And this alone will actually create stiffness by applying the shape into the top layer. Now I know you can't see it, but I'm bringing the chalk down. I'm up to here with the chalk here, down a little lower on this side, lower on this side, more on this side, so I need to put a little bit more weight on my right hand side. I want things to come down symmetrically right and left. Okay, right now it's pretty symmetrical. Alrighty, a little more. That should do it. I'm going to put chalk on here again, only because I'm going to flatten this area. I want to take that radius out, and when I put weight here, I have about 1/4 of an inch rise back here. That's all there is. Now, at this point, I can take this out, move all of this, and now we're actually going to get ready to put in the neck and the tail blocks. So in a few minutes, once I clean up this mess, you'll get to see me actually put in a neck and a tail block. Alrighty. The next thing I want to do is set my blocks. I have my side sets roughly shaped to where I need them to be. I have a center line established on my tail block. I'm not worried if I'm dead nuts 100% as long as I'm reasonably close. The tail block is not the critical block, the neck block is. Now you probably noticed I have a little bit of shape on my tail block, and again that's to help lighten the load. And I have the plywood in there as an anti-split member. And I have a good coating of glue. And I'm not wiping the glue on my pants. I have a rag in my back pocket. At least that's what I tell my wife all the time. Now I have a center line marked, and I'm just going to stitch this right onto there. Alright? Now I have these wonderful clamps. And these are just, you can't ask for a better clamp for this job. That's my tail. Now I can take my neck block and do the same thing. Now, if you remember, I established my center line by actually using the neck itself. And it's very important that you get a good, even coat. This is the back, so I want my dovetail down. Alright? I'm lining up my center mark, and I'm going to take one of these clamps, now, I have the tape on both sides of this joint. That's pretty much securing my side set so it doesn't get out of kilter. I can now take my spreader out, can open my mold up, I'll get my glue bottle out of the way, and now we'll do the other side. blocks. Now what I like to do is I want to get this clamped up, give it about 5-10 minutes. I want the glue to tack, but not set, because I'm going to come in then with a caul so that I can get this very nicely glued in, set up. See, I do have to drop my neck block. You can see it's a little high here. I wasn't careful when I set this in. So I want to make sure, again, I have this taped. I'm going to put some more tape on there just to make sure. But I do have my center line marked. That's the important thing. I'll probably put a little bit more glue on here since I disturbed it. And it don't take much. Because at this point, it's easy to correct the mistake. Further down the road, it isn't. So, since I know this is my top, I need that on a flat surface, tail block down. I'm going to use my parallels, because nothing is more true than the parallel. I do have a center mark on here. I'm actually going to set, this is actually going to be set a little bit high on both the top and the back, because I need to true this up with the dishes in a little bit. Alright, I'm a little proud here, a little proud down below. That's all that matters. I can now scrape this glue out. Now this glue actually sets up reasonably quick. It's Tite Bond. That's the brand I use. I'm going to take some wet paper towels and clean the rest of the glue out. I'm more worried about the neck block than the tail block, since we can see the neck block from the sound hole. You want to see glue coming out of your joints. If you don't, you probably don't have enough glue in there. Now, to call this out nicely, I have this material, ultra high molecular weight nylon. It is actually reasonably flexible, so that when I put this on here, not only will it flex, the glue won't stick to it. Now this has been in the clamp just a few minutes. Tite Bond will grasp pretty quickly. And again, these clamps are just, they're the perfect tool for this job. And the reason why I want to use this, I want to get this surface flat. Alright, I want a good flat surface here. And this will give it to me. It gives me great gluing pressure, evenly distributed. And you can buy this stuff, it's not terribly expensive. And it will conform to the radius that is on the tail block. I'll let that sit for a few minutes, and then we're going to do the same thing to the neck. And remember, you can over clamp. So we don't want to glue starve the joint. You can actually force this thing, those clamps that tight that you get too much glue squeezed out, and as a result you'll have a weak and a possibly failed joint. If there's two joints that you don't want to fail, it's these two. This one I'm not going to have to put one of these on. I don't have the full surface area like I do in the neck block that I do here. So I can just take this and scoot these along a little bit. And that's probably all I'm going to need to do. And I will have a very nice glue joint. I will let this sit like this for at least an hour. And the next time you see these, we'll be back in the mold. I'll show you how to put in the kerfing, and then I'll show you how to true up the kerfing. Once we get the kerfing trued up, we'll have a top and we'll have a back. And those two are going to get braces, and I'll show you how to inlet the bracing into the kerfing. So, you might call this chapter 1. We'll go on to chapter 2 later. Thank you, John Hall, Blues Creek Guitars. See you next time.